The Metroidvania, a video game genre centered around satisfying exploration, meaningful progression, and these little guys that walk around blocks.
Hey, what's up?
These games drop players into large, atmospheric, and labyrinthian worlds that they can slowly uncover bit by bit. They tap into that innate human desire to see what lies over the next hill, or around the next corner, or past this spooky-looking 3D book. Oh no, oh my god. There are many definitions for what exactly makes a Metroidvania, but I'm not interested in what makes a Metroidvania. I'm interested in why it makes a Metroidvania. I don't particularly care which games fall neatly into the genre. I'm more concerned with why they're designed the way that they are. So I'm starting a new series called Genre Breakdowns, where we boil down a genre to its core mechanics, explore how those mechanics have evolved over time, and see what we as prospective designers can learn from them. Let's dive into the Metroidvania. The term Metroidvania is a portmanteau of Metroid and Castlevania, the two franchises this genre can trace its roots to. The first game in this design lineage is, unsurprisingly, Metroid, released in 1986. During development, Super Mario Bros. Was exploding in popularity, and the development team wanted to make something that contrasted with the bright, jovial, linear gameplay of Mario. Inspired by the movie Alien, the team created a spooky, exploration-focused, atmospheric game set in a large, interconnected world. In addition to this new style of level design, Metroid introduced a very important mechanic called ability gating. It works something like this. You start exploring the world until you come across an obstacle that you can't overcome. In this case, a small gap that you can't quite squeeze into. So you have to turn around, go somewhere else, and eventually find a new ability. In this case, the Morph Ball, which will allow you to sneak through that small gap. This allows for exploration that feels very organic, and it's the foundation that the Metroidvania genre is built on. Instead of the game arbitrarily halting progress, because I say so, it provides a natural barrier that the player just doesn't have the tool set to overcome yet. Combine that with the satisfaction of slowly getting stronger over time by picking up more and more abilities, and you have a recipe for a compelling video game genre. The sales numbers reflected this. Metroid sold well, particularly in North America, which prompted a sequel for the Game Boy. But the third installment would really push Metroid's ideas forward. This game would be Super Metroid. Super Metroid took everything the original Metroid did and improved upon it. The game took advantage of all of the fancy new graphics of the Super Nintendo, which allowed the development team to significantly boost the atmosphere of the different areas of the game. Things like 8-directional aiming and saving were massive improvements. But for our purposes, some of the most relevant improvements to Super Metroid have to do with a map. See, the issue with making a game about exploring a huge world is that the player can very easily get lost in that huge world. This was a big problem in the first Metroid, which didn't have a map at all, making it very hard to find your way around or to get a sense for the size and shape of the world that you're exploring. To fix this, Super Metroid added an auto-mapping system. So the world is put on a grid, and if you enter one of the squares on the grid, it appears on your map. This way, you get to keep track of everywhere you've been, but you don't get the whole thing spoiled for you right out of the gate. While a lot has changed in Super Metroid, the core established in the original Metroid is still there. The game still uses ability gating and non-linearity to give the player that powerful sense of organic exploration and progression. One of my favorite examples of this being the gravity suit. You get the gravity suit a bit later into the game. At this point, you'll have been around the block and picked up some powerful new abilities. There's not much in the game that's giving you trouble at this point, with one glaring exception: water.
Huh, I bet you thought I'd say lava.
This stuff is the worst. It slows you down, it stops you from getting to frustratingly low platforms, and is just in general super annoying to deal with. Eventually though, you'll find yourself in an abandoned ship with the power turned off. After you fight this creepy guy, you get the power turned back on and are able to find your way to
the gravity suit.
The suit reduces damage you take, which is great, but it also lets you navigate water without getting slowed down. The game doesn't explicitly tell you this, but it very elegantly shows it to you by dumping you out of the room you get the suit in into a big body of water. This is Super Metroid at its best. Atmospheric exploration, spooky enemies, the player's actions impacting the world with the power turning back on, and an ability that meaningfully changes the player's relationship with the world, allowing for further exploration. No surprise then that the game was released to near universal critical acclaim, and is still today widely considered one of the best games ever made. Unfortunately, the game didn't sell like it. It didn't completely flop, but its sales numbers weren't comparable to that of a flagship franchise like Mario or Zelda, prompting Nintendo to take an 8-year hiatus from making Metroid games. Luckily for all of us, another studio would step up and inadvertently push this formula forward and solidify it as a genre.
Castlevania Symphony of the Night
Was developed by Konami and was not inspired by Metroid, but instead by Zelda. Koji Igarashi, assistant director for the game, said, "In my heart, I really wanted to create a Legend of Zelda game, but I suppose that when you turn Zelda into a 2D platformer, yes, it resembles Metroid." The development team was dissatisfied by the state of action games at the time, prompting them to move the series away from its linear roots and to create a more open-ended, player-controlled experience. Despite not being directly inspired by Metroid, the game still has everything we've seen so far. A dense, atmospheric world with lots of twists and turns for the player to explore, an auto-mapping system like Super Metroid, and of course, our favorite mechanic, say it with me, sexy demon ladies. Ability gating. What really separates Symphony of the Night from Super Metroid is that it takes all of these established mechanics and adds RPG mechanics on top of them. So the player gains experience points from killing enemies, and when they get enough points, they level up. This adds a few things. A clear sense of progression. Do not underestimate the power of
human like see small number get big.
It adds a kind of difficulty slider, as if the player wants the game to be easier, they can go fight a bunch of enemies and level up. And finally, it rewards exploration. No matter what the player does or where they go, so long as they keep killing enemies, they'll continue to improve their stats. So the player can get lost and hit a dead end and still get something valuable out of it. So when they do find the way forward, they'll be stronger and better prepared for the new enemies and tough boss fights. But the player might not even get lost at all because of a relatively small change to the map. Super Metroid's map had to be split into different areas due to hardware limitations, but Symphony of the Night has one massive, beautiful, easily accessible map. This one change does so much to help the player not get lost, as it's so much easier to get a sense for the size and shape of the world if you can see it all laid out in front of you. It's tough to overstate how much of a difference this makes when you're playing the game. All of these changes and improvements codified the Metroidvania genre, though not immediately. It looked initially like Symphony of the Night would go the way of Super Metroid, but sales for the game spiked late, and it was viewed as a financial success. So much so that the games that followed in the Castlevania series would largely follow the blueprint laid out by Symphony of the Night. Nintendo even started releasing Metroid games again, which is where we get the Metroid Prime games taking the genre to the third dimension. Past this point, the genre would mostly be carried forward by indie games, and they would iterate on the established formula in a variety of ways. From adding brawler combat to Guacamelee to these neat player-controlled save points in Ori and the Blind Forest. A lot of these games would go on to sell very well and earn heaps of critical praise, but let's face it, there's only one king of the indie Metroidvania, and that's Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight, and its sequel, Hollow Knight Silksong, have come to define what the modern Metroidvania looks like. Boy, does it look good. And while all of the gorgeous, hand-drawn art and masterfully crafted effects might make these games seem very different than the ones we've covered, they're very similar under the hood. There's a huge world to explore, filled with interconnected areas, satisfying, fluid combat, and, the most important thing, the mechanic most foundational to the genre. You've heard it before, say it with me again. Sexy bug ladies. I mean ability gating. I keep doing that. Hollow Knight delivers on the promise of organic exploration and progression better than any game we've covered so far. In Super Metroid, if you try to destroy a block with the wrong tool, the block will show off a symbol corresponding to the tool you need to destroy it. If you don't have that ability, it's time to turn around and go somewhere else. Hollow Knight doesn't need this immersion-breaking prompt to communicate that you can't go somewhere yet. The Desolate Dive ability allows you to crash through certain parts of the floor to reach new areas. But instead of letting the player know they can do this by flashing a symbol on screen, or even worse, throwing up a text box, the game plays a sound effect, jiggles the floor a little, and throws up a couple particle effects. It's simple, but it's enough to communicate to the player that something can be done here. And after they get the Desolate Dive, anytime they hear that sound, they know that they can use that ability. So elegant. The games also do a lot to prevent the player from getting lost. I won't go into too much detail, but even at a glance, it's easy to tell that this is a better map. The map is broken up into areas like Super Metroid, but you can also zoom out and see how all of those areas connect, like in Castlevania. The shape of the rooms and recognizable landmarks are also included in the map. So if you get a new ability, you might check your map and go, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that spot. Let me go back and check that out." With these changes and more, these games have modernized the Metroidvania and become incredibly popular at the same time. They literally broke all of these online stores because so many people wanted to buy Silksong when it launched. The genre has come far from its "let's be different than Mario" origins, and now we get games that look and play like this. And man, is that awesome. Something that I find interesting about the Metroidvania genre is that it was almost more discovered than designed. The devs for Symphony of the Night weren't trying to make a game like Metroid, and the Hollow Knight devs weren't trying to make a Metroidvania at all. Both of these teams just wanted to make an action game about exploration, and the best way for them to do that was to use this formula, this genre. The feeling of slowly exploring more and more of a once hostile and unfamiliar world, while also getting stronger and stronger at the same time, is just impossible to match. And as we've seen, games have come a long way in delivering on that experience, tweaking map systems, abilities, and combat to make exploration and progression feel organic, all without overwhelming the player. I can't wait to see where this genre takes us next. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. Feel free to like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like it. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. What parts of Metroidvanias best resonate with you? Is it the exploration, the atmosphere, or something I completely missed? Let me know in the comments. This series is a bit of a change from my previous videos, so if you guys liked it, let me know what other genres you'd like to see me cover. Catch y'all next time.